The year is 267 CE. The Roman Empire is in chaos, weakened by civil wars and barbarian invasions. In the Syrian desert, a remarkable opportunity arises for one ambitious woman. Zenobia was the queen of Palmyra, a wealthy trading city between the Roman and Persian empires. When her husband, King Odaenathus, was assassinated, Zenobia refused to surrender power to Rome. Instead, she declared herself regent for her young son and began building an empire of her own. Educated in philosophy, history, and languages, Zenobia could speak Egyptian, Greek, and Latin fluently. She claimed descent from Cleopatra and Dido of Carthage, powerful women who had challenged Rome before her. In 270 CE, Zenobia made her move. Leading her armies personally on horseback, she conquered Egypt, Rome's most valuable province and breadbasket. She then swept through much of the Middle East, taking Syria, Palestine, and parts of Asia Minor. At the height of her power, Zenobia's empire stretched from modern Turkey to the Nile. She declared herself Augusta, Empress, and minted coins with her image, not the Roman emperor's. In Palmyra, she established a glittering court filled with scholars, artists, and philosophers. The Roman response was swift and brutal. Emperor Aurelian, determined to restore Roman power, marched east with a massive army. After several hard-fought battles, Zenobia's forces were defeated. She attempted to flee on a dromedary camel across the desert to Persia, but was captured at the Euphrates River. Brought to Rome in chains of gold, Zenobia was paraded through the streets in Aurelian's triumph. Yet unlike most defeated enemies of Rome, she was not executed. Instead, she was given a villa in Tivoli, where she became a prominent philosopher and socialite in Roman society. Palmyra never recovered from Rome's vengeance. But Zenobia's brief desert empire remains one of history's most audacious challenges to Roman power. A testament to a woman who dared to build her own empire in a world dominated by men.
Ruler number 7, Queen Nzinga. The Portuguese slave traders who arrived on the shores of Angola in the 17th century thought they would easily manipulate the local kingdoms. They had not counted on meeting Queen Nzinga. Born in 1583, Nzinga witnessed the devastating impact of the slave trade on her people. When her brother, the King of Nongo, proved ineffective at resisting Portuguese encroachment, Nzinga took matters into her own hands. In 1622, she traveled to Luanda to negotiate directly with the Portuguese governor. Upon arriving, she discovered there was only one chair in the room for the governor, rather than accept the mat on the floor meant to symbolize her inferior status. Nzinga signaled to one of her servants, who dropped to all fours. She sat on the servant's back, negotiating with the Portuguese at eye level. This legendary meeting set the tone for Nzinga's rule. When her brother died in 1626, she seized power, taking the title of Ngola, or king, not queen. When challenged about her gender, she reportedly said, "I may be a woman, but I have the heart of a man." For the next 40 years, Nzinga waged a relentless campaign against Portuguese colonization. She offered sanctuary to escaped slaves, formed alliances with rival European powers like the Dutch, and built a formidable army that included female soldiers. Her military tactics were ingenious. Unable to match Portuguese firepower directly, she employed guerrilla warfare, using the dense forests and mountains to her advantage. She repeatedly outmaneuvered Portuguese forces, striking quickly and disappearing before they could respond. When necessary, Nzinga adopted European customs and even converted to Christianity to secure political alliances. But she never abandoned her ultimate goal, protecting her people from enslavement. At age 81, after decades of resistance, Nzinga signed a peace treaty with Portugal that recognized her sovereignty and ended slave raids in her territories. She died the following year in 1663, having successfully held back the tide of colonization for an entire generation. Queen Nzinga's legacy lives on in Angola, where she is revered as a national hero. Her strategic brilliance and unwavering determination make her one of Africa's greatest anti-colonial leaders, a woman who refused to bow before empire builders.
Ruler number 8, Empress Suiko. While Europe was mired in the Dark Ages, Japan was experiencing a golden age of culture and innovation under the leadership of its first female emperor, Suiko. Born in 554 CE as a princess of the powerful Soga clan, Suiko never expected to rule. She was married to Emperor Bidatsu and became his consort. But when a smallpox epidemic killed both her husband and his successor, Japan faced a succession crisis. In 592, Suiko's nephew Prince Shotoku convinced her to take the throne, with him serving as regent. Together, they would transform Japan. Suiko became the first woman to be officially recognized as Tenno, Emperor of Japan. During her 35-year reign, she oversaw a period of extraordinary change that laid the foundations for Japanese civilization as we know it today. Under Suiko's rule, Buddhism became firmly established in Japan. She commissioned the building of numerous temples, including the famous Horyuji, which remains the world's oldest wooden structure still standing. But Suiko's most lasting achievement was the introduction of Chinese political systems and culture. In 604, she and Prince Shotoku implemented Japan's first constitution, the 17-article constitution, which emphasized harmony, Buddhism, and Confucian values. She established diplomatic relations with China's Sui dynasty, sending the first official Japanese embassy to the Chinese court. These missions brought back not just political connections, but Chinese writing, literature, art, architecture, and urban planning. Suiko also ordered Japan's first official history to be written, creating a sense of national identity. She standardized the court ranking system and established a centralized government structure that would last for centuries. Perhaps most remarkably, Empress Suiko issued Japan's first coins in 708, creating an official currency that facilitated trade and economic growth. When she died in 628 at age 74, Suiko left behind a transformed nation, one that had evolved from a collection of warring clans into a centralized state with a distinct cultural identity. Though often overshadowed by her nephew Prince Shotoku in historical accounts, Empress Suiko's reign marked the beginning of classical Japanese civilization and opened the door for the 6 other women who would rule Japan as Empress Regnant in the following century. Ruler number 9, Queen Artemisia E. The year is 480 BCE. The largest naval battle of the ancient world is about to begin at Salamis. The Persian king Xerxes watches from a golden throne on the shore as his massive fleet prepares to crush the Greeks once and for all. Among his commanders is someone the Greeks consider doubly barbaric, not just a Persian ally, but a woman. Her name is Artemisia, Queen of Halicarnassus. Artemisia ruled Halicarnassus, modern Bodrum, Turkey, and nearby islands as a vassal of the Persian Empire. When Xerxes launched his invasion of Greece, she didn't just send troops. She personally led her contingent of 5 ships, serving as both admiral and strategist. Before the Battle of Salamis, the Persian commanders debated their strategy. Most favored immediate attack, but Artemisia advised caution, warning that the narrow strait of Salamis favored the smaller Greek fleet. According to Herodotus, she told Xerxes,
"Spare your ships and do not fight at sea. Their men are as much superior to yours at sea as men are to women."
Xerxes ignored her advice, a decision he would soon regret. During the battle, the Persian fleet became disorganized in the narrow waters, exactly as Artemisia had predicted. Finding herself pursued by a Greek ship, Artemisia executed a daring escape. She rammed and sank another Persian vessel, leading her Greek pursuers to believe she was an ally. They broke off their chase while Xerxes, watching from shore, believed she had sunk a Greek ship. After the Persian defeat, Xerxes declared,
"My men have become women, and my women men."
He entrusted Artemisia with escorting his illegitimate sons safely back to Asia. What makes Artemisia's story remarkable is that we know about her primarily through Greek sources, her enemies. The Greek historian Herodotus, himself from Halicarnassus, wrote of her with undisguised admiration, despite the Greeks' general disdain for both Persians and female leaders. Centuries later, another Queen, Artemisia of Halicarnassus, would build the mausoleum, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, as a tomb for her husband. But it was the first Artemisia who proved that a woman could command respect, even from her enemies, through courage and strategic brilliance. Ruler number 10, Queen Liliuokalani. Story brings us to more recent history. The last queen of Hawaii, whose struggle to preserve her nation's sovereignty resonates to this day. Liliuokalani became Queen of the Hawaiian Kingdom in 1891, inheriting a difficult situation. American and European businessmen, particularly sugar planters, had gained increasing control over Hawaii's economy and were pushing for annexation by the United States. Born in 1838 as Lydia Kamakaiha, she was educated in royal schools and became fluent in English, mathematics, and music. A gifted composer, she wrote over 160 songs, including the famous Aloha O, Farewell to Thee. As queen, Liliuokalani was determined to restore power to native Hawaiians and limit foreign influence. In January 1893, she prepared to promulgate a new constitution that would strengthen the monarchy and restore voting rights to native Hawaiians. The American and European business interests on the island were alarmed. With the support of the U.S. minister to Hawaii, they organized a coup. U.S. Marines from the USS Boston came ashore, ostensibly to protect American lives and property. Facing armed opposition backed by a foreign power, Liliuokalani surrendered under protest on January 17, 1893, stating,
"I yield to the superior force of the United States of America, whose minister has caused United States troops to be landed at Honolulu. Now, to avoid any collision of armed forces, and perhaps loss of life, I do, under this protest, and impelled by said forces, yield my authority until such time as the government of the United States shall, upon the facts being presented to it, undo the action of its representative and reinstate me in the authority which I claim as the constitutional sovereign of the Hawaiian Islands."
Conclusion. From Zenobia's desert empire to Liliuokalani's island kingdom, these 5 women faced overwhelming odds with courage, intelligence, and determination. Queen Zenobia built an empire from the Syrian desert, challenging Rome at the height of its power. Queen Nzinga outmaneuvered Portuguese colonizers for decades, protecting her people from enslavement. Empress Suiko transformed Japan from warring clans into a unified nation with a distinct cultural identity. Queen Artemisia commanded respect even from her enemies through her daring naval tactics. And Queen Liliuokalani fought to preserve her nation's sovereignty against the rising tide of American imperialism. Their stories remind us that throughout history and across cultures, women have led nations, commanded armies, and shaped the world, even when the odds were stacked against them. Which of these rulers would you like to learn more about? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed these stories of remarkable women, subscribe to Lost Ancient Stories for more videos about history's most powerful women who dared to defy the odds and change the world.